Welcome back to the Unordinary Podcast. I am here with one of my closest friends, Kassab. Isaac is the co-founder of Pearl Talent, an AI native talent company. Honestly, he's one of the few guys out here redefining how startups scale without legacy overhead. Today, CoSign has 30 plus team members. Isaac has helped us find about half of them. He spent his early years in Venezuela before growing up in Miami and building his career in the US. Prior to Pearl, he helped build and scale StageGlass, an awesome prop tech firm. He also worked across other companies within prop tech and real estate investment. He's here to talk about the arbitrage of hunger, the AI first workforce, and why his experience with overseas hiring is becoming so relevant. Isaac, welcome.
Thank you very much, Zach. Appreciate you having me here.
Of course, man. I'm happy we finally made this happen.
Yeah. Overdue.
Way overdue. So, Isaac, I'm pumped you're here. For everyone listening, our story goes way back.
It does.
One of my closest friends, my guy. Could you just let everyone know how we know each other?
Yeah, we Zach and I were many moons ago invited by two of our close friends who were best friends out for a dinner with the other group of people, and I think we were both walking in blind, had no idea about each other, but there was a purpose of us being in that same room and getting to know each other. And I think, instant connection. No, I think this is the fact that we both built in real estate. Like I was at the private equity fund,
definitely,
which was your start. And then we both built in prop tech. I think we hit it off, and it's definitely been a fun journey together since then.
Absolutely. Jeremy was at the dinner too.
Yeah, Jeremy was there. Yeah, that's right.
The best.
Yeah, he loves to remind me of that.
Yeah, I'm forever grateful.
He's the best
for the introduction to Jeremy, and
I'm here for it.
Friendship, bro.
Of course, man. Love. We go up together.
All right. So you spent your early years in Venezuela before moving to the United States with your family.
Yeah.
How did that shape the way you think about opportunity and building Pearl? Like your grandparents were entrepreneurs in Venezuela, and then overnight they came to the United States. And
yeah, I'll break it down into two parts. The first of which is people in Venezuela are incredible. They're the education system for a very long time was really top line. Like I remember growing up, when I moved to the States, my friends in Venezuela had a far harder time in school than we did. Like our school system was very easy compared to theirs. Their grading systems were not making 70 or 80% of people in the C's, B's, and A's. It was a grading system of 0 to 20, and it was very normalized. So the average person was a 10. That's not just the upper echelon too. That's everyone had a really great education. My grandparents were immigrants into Venezuela from Iraq and from Egypt. Obviously in the 50s, there was a big exodus of Judaism from these two countries. They were okay back in those countries, but they had to journey to a better path. And so they made it, my grandfather from Iraq made it through Israel to Venezuela, my grandfather from Egypt to France to Venezuela. And it was a good starting point. I think it made it very clear to me that there was a ton of success and people that were going to build success in Latin America, because that's really where they went from zero to what they became. And then we had to move to the US because there's just not that level of long-term opportunity, long-term stability. Venezuela obviously took a very deep path down. So Venezuela was incredible. I am very excited to go back. Obviously the changes happening now are going to open up just hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars of economy over there for everyone to be able to pick up. But at the same time, we still see a huge demand from the upper talent, people from the best universities, best high schools that work at the best investment firms or best startups or best companies still looking to build in our companies here.
What is so in the United States, when people look for a job, they have LinkedIn. What does that look like in Venezuela? How do Venezuela, Latin America, where a big portion of your workforce is from, how do they seek about finding jobs? And people going through graduate school, going through undergrad in Latin America, do they go through university with the goal hey, I'm excited to work for a US company? What is life like there? How do they view the progression of life?
Yeah. One, the process is very similar. You get recruited if you're coming out of the best universities or from the best companies. You apply through job boards similar to LinkedIn or other, comparables that are local. what I think is for sure true though is like the opportunities are not as grand and they're not as vast. And so like you won't necessarily end up in a great company. And even if you do end up in a great company, it's nowhere near the speed at which we build here. What's really interesting is what happened with overseas staffing, what happened in overseas 40 years ago that makes a ton of people's perception of talent in Latin America and Asia lean in on like the worst people is these call centers went down to LATAM
Sure.
and to Asia. And they told everyone, hey, we'll pay you 10% more money, but you cannot think. You have to read the script. You have to follow the script. And they did so well paying those people 10% money and making so much money in the US that it created 4 generations of people who just like were taught that they did not need to think to execute. Those hundreds of millions of people from all over the world go to Upwork and Fiverr and they take that finesse with them. They want to make a little bit more money and they don't care if they get fired, or they'll work at a traditional outsourcing company and they'll get paid a little bit more than people locally, but they're not getting a career. They're just jumping around. Like they're in that company and they're getting moved around from client to client as the clients fire them. And so what I realized 7 years ago when I started my last company was that we had to get access to my friend group.
Sure.
I didn't have enough. We raised $11 million, had good product market fit, and we're growing fast.
For everyone who's listening, kind of walk us through your first foray into startups at StageGlass. What was StageGlass? How'd you grow it? Your first foray into overseas talent?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start from the ending, which was like how we got into overseas, and tell you then a little bit more about my background. But like, basically, like we had a crazy amount of money to spend on the best talent, and we legitimately reached a plateau of how many A players we were meeting in America. We were sourcing from all of the major cities, all of the major companies. We had tens of headhunters out and about outside of an internally strong recruiting team. And what I realized was I needed more interviews with more A players to really figure out who was like the A++ that was going to rock. And so I went to my friend group and I said, hey, if you refer one of our other friends that I might not know, I'll pay you $1,000, which over there is like $10,000. Monty, my co-founder, is from the Philippines. He was building his startup in San Francisco at the same time. We had the same growth plan, hit the same milestones at the same time. And so he built that same referral program. Out of nowhere, I started getting people that like, I started to realize then like they were so hungry for more. And like we were always hungry, but we always had more opportunities here in the States. They don't have those things. And so as soon as I said, hey, we're venture backed by the best VCs, we have $11 million, we're just getting started and we're gonna blow this thing up. That led to such an abundance of talent. And then I went to Babson, Monty went to Penn. We expanded to every other country we had a friend at. And like into that specific friend group was the focus, right? Like the top of the top that worked at the best companies. And like it was easy to sell them. I mean, it wasn't easy, but like it was a lot easier to sell them because we were venture backed and had all these incredible investors behind us. So we started to change what people thought internationally was actually possible with US companies.
When you started hiring overseas, was it, hey, let me hire more for less? Or was it like, hey, I want to have a wider pool for this one position and I don't care how much they cost, I just need the best possible person?
Yeah. So when I went really into like, I need to hire A+ people, when like our company like really started to take off, I had already had an assistant that would work part-time with me on like little things, personal things that I met through a friend. And it was like the cheapest option in the world. And like, I realized over time, especially as I started meeting like the real A players when I had money to spend, that people think overseas so incorrectly. They think like, oh, it's inexpensive. And so I'm going to go and hire the least expensive option. And like in reality, you don't need to go abroad and hire the cheapest option to save 70%. You should go abroad and hire the guy or the girl at the top of the game and save 40%. Because at the end of the day, like we know this, and most people in tech know this, like you're hiring for a return on investment, what this person's gonna do in your company, not the cost of them up front. So that became the biggest focus of ours maniacally.
Did you realize that up front, or did you first make the mistake, hey, let me find, because I'll tell you my experience.
Yeah,
and
I'm curious to hear that actually.
My experience was, I don't know, almost 8 years ago, and active on Twitter, people started talking about hiring overseas. I remember I hired someone in the Philippines for like $350 an hour, and I was so excited about it. $350 an hour. At the time, I didn't have a huge budget, but like I was in my role working at a different company at the time, and I wanted to create the most amount of leverage for myself. And $350 an hour, she starts working for me, and she didn't know right from left, and it was just a horrible experience. And 2 years, she was with me for what? 3-4 months. 2 years after, like, then I was like, all right, I'm done with this.
For sure.
2 years passed, and I decided to revisit it again, doing it kind of the way you discussed. Let me hire the best. I had a little bit more budget now. Let me try to find the best person overseas, because maybe the best chief of staff in New York City is going to be making north of 200K, and if you can hire the absolute best chief of staff anywhere in the world for lower budget, like, there's a huge ROI. And that's ultimately the decision I went.
Yeah. I mean, like, we started working. I remember, like, you were starting to feel that. And then, like, it was when you started to really grow that, like, you started to come to us, because, like, your time was more valuably spent not interviewing for the 10 roles you had open. And so we started cranking on it together in the beginning of our company. But
walk me through the transition from Stage Glass to Pearl.
Yeah. So Stage Glass was one of the coolest and best opportunities I've ever had. I had a small brokerage in college where I had awesome friends, young, cute guys and girls running around and selling apartments to as many people as possible. That was my first real business. I graduated and kind of talked my way into a private equity role, took a pitch deck all over Europe and raised money for my family, my friends' parents, and walked into this private equity firm as a 22-year-old who had raised a few $1 million. It was then when I realized that, like, the real estate game was going to take so long to make the outcome that I was looking for my life for many different reasons. And so I knew tech was going to be a thing. I went to a real estate tech company, became an SDR, left an asset management job with my own office to start ripping cold calls, did really well for them quite quickly, got connected to a ton of the investors in this space because I was one of the only people that understood the tech and the real estate. And one investor friend introduced me to this incredible guy who was dropping out of Stanford and had this great idea to use video game technology to help sell real estate. Because as everyone here knows, like, when you look at a new property or even one that exists, you have, like, this video walkthrough. But what other people don't know, if you've ever sold real estate, is, like, it's really important if Isaac's going to go look at this new development that the sales team can understand which unit I liked, right? And so I would get these little video games of future houses and future units, and I'd be able to dive into the one that I liked, 1101 at the 6,000 Island, and I would change the marble finishes to wood. And, like, the sales team was constantly seeing me playing around with this unit, so it made them a lot more effective in closing me because I knew what I liked. It's a very simple idea. Sure. The video game technology was extremely complex, but I mean, that journey was crazy. We did such incredible things so quickly and then had a good opportunity to exit, and we did. But it was that 3-year journey when I realized my job was to find A+ players that were going to do more than what I could do by myself. And so I started hiring like 10, 20 people a quarter. The transition came because I spent those 3 years, like, not only figuring out how to get access to the best players, but, like, how do you genuinely vet someone for success? And I'll show you a secret. Like, how do you vet someone for success? You figure out what intrinsically motivates them, right? What is the reason why they want to get to their future? And if they have a very good reason of where they want to go and why they want to go there, all you really need to figure out, outside of course their hard skills and if they're a good fit with the team, is can you be the vehicle to help them get there? If you can be the vehicle to help someone reach their intrinsically motivated goal, those are the people that are going to be thinking about what they're working on day in, day out, at night, as soon as they wake up. Those are the people that are driven to get to the outcome. We have so many friends that work in so many companies. They might like their work, but it doesn't take them to their future. So that's what we worked really well, hired a ton of people, spun it out because I saw how much impact we were having with these incredible people abroad. And that was obvious.
How do you prompt your team? What's the questioning you use to figure out what their intrinsic goal in life is, what they really care about?
Okay, that's a good one. Little secret, like, that is the first thing you should always ask anyone you're interviewing is, like, where do they want to go into the future and why? That's where I start. And usually I prompt them to go deeper. Why? You want to get to the 6 whys, right? If you get to the 6 whys, you understand someone's literal first principled reason to exist.
What are the 6 whys?
We could go through right now, but, like, basically I'd ask you, like, why are you building what you're building? And then you tell me, and then I'd go, why? And you'd go deeper, and then I'd go, why? And then you go deeper, and I'd keep on doing that 6 times through. And at 6 times, like, there's no deep. There's no more to go.
You're there.
You're there. So we do that as an activity, and there's something else that we test for that's, like, actually one of the biggest, like, hacks and secrets. If you want to know it, hit me, but I don't want to be just blasting it everywhere. Hit me on Slack or on Instagram or LinkedIn, and I'll tell you what it is. But that's the starting point of being able to very quickly see if someone is going to potentially be an A player in your company, right?
How do you identify, what are other ways to identify A players?
I think you showed me something a few years ago when you were putting together Cosign, which was what it meant to be an A player at Cosign. And the answer is within that sentence. It's, you could be an A player in one company and be the best person there. And there's a really good chance that you will be a C or D player somewhere else. And so it's like, what defines the core values of your company, and like, why does this person align with that super well? And then of course, are they incredibly great at figuring out critical path, understanding how to think in like hockey stick type growth, right? Like thinking 100x and throwing really good hypotheses out there that they can test and they iterate quickly. Those are some of the principles you have to be looking for and we interview for, because like just a great task doer, even like a really smart one that like just gets the job done, that doesn't, I mean, you know, our growth doesn't happen because of that. Our growth happens because our people are producing and constantly putting out like 1x, 2x, 3x more.
You're one of the most impressive friends I have. What you're doing, I think you for a bunch of different reasons, but like
that.
your team has several hundred employees all over the world, and I have so many questions for you. How you do it, how you manage your team, how you upskill your team when everybody's distributed. And sure, you get them together a few times a year, but it's insanely impressive. But before we go into what you built at Pearl, in your words, what is Pearl and what are you building?
Yeah. At its core, where Pearl exists right now is an AI native talent company. What we do is we go hire the most cracked out, best paid, best producing individuals internationally in all of these markets that we had to go and build grassroots campaigns in person, getting to know people. Luckily, no one that builds in my space would ever do that because it's so painstaking. It's so much easier.
Explain like grassroots campaigns. What does that look like in Venezuela, in Panama?
Yeah, it meant I flew to Venezuela and would go to a coffee shop, bring a DJ, put on great music, and I got all of my friends to invite their friends, and I like would hack a little bit of like an incentive structure, and I brought the 500, 600 people, and I throw a party. And I would use that to source all of these people and then start drip campaigning them on like why they need to be thinking more than what their local opportunities offer them. So we literally went market by market, building these small communities of people that like you don't get from posting a job on LinkedIn. So that's where it started.
You're creating that YC culture in these countries that don't know what YC is.
100%. And the center of like San Francisco or the center of the startup ecosystem in New York, like we're creating that opportunity to show up because then we can find them and then we can show them that there's opportunities within our companies to make double what they're making locally, right? So it's the core of Pearl is finding these A players, making them AI native. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like we literally built an AI school where people can apply, they pay a little bit of money, and they spend 6 Saturdays learning how to prompt, reverse prompt, build workflows, projects, and just general integrations end-to-end across different example tests. Then we teach them a little bit about Claude Code and how to use code to like just go crazy. If you've never coded, I never coded in my life. Now I'm putting out things in 30 minutes. Like it's nuts. So the thesis is you find these A players, you train them up on how to being AI native, and then out of nowhere, these people become so much more, they're already competitive with Americans, right? Like we have a ton of people overseas that go neck and neck, if not outperform a lot of American counterparts. And like, if you don't believe me, shoot me a message and I will show you literal case studies.
I can confirm. I mean, we have 15
And then if you
over
make
at
those
Pearl,
people AI native,
of course.
like now it's like, wow, this person cost me 60% of what an American would, and they're already AI native. Every founder that's listening to this is thinking to themselves, like, how many of my people are genuinely AI native? It's not all of them. If they are, phenomenal, keep going. But like what Pearl does is we're insanely focused on the North Star metric of retention of great people.
You need to double down on the startup school because this is insanely impressive. People can't apply to Pearl if they don't go through your startup school.
They have to go through the startup school. Not only that, but like anyone who like,
explain that. People can't apply to Pearl. People can't be placed at any company unless they're AI native.
100%. We started realizing 7 months ago, 8 months ago, I mean, you helped me get to this idea. Like we had to teach all of our people AI because they need to understand what we were going to be building and rebuilding within our companies to make them output 3 to 10x, if not more. When people apply to the company, they get prompted to go into the AI school. And if they don't, and it's optional, they get rejected immediately. Right? Like if you're not interested in learning the most important technology coming out, like walk away, like go somewhere else that doesn't give a shit. Like that's not us. But the other fun thing is we launched this AI school and put it out in a few fun little marketing ways where people can apply to the AI school without even knowing what Pearl does as a way to just upskill. Anyone that's spending money and 6 Saturdays learning, I want them to go straight into our qualification process. And that's now how we're starting to bring great people into orgs before founders like you even know you need certain people.
You placed Claudia and Rachel for us over the past month.
Yeah.
And they took your AI school. And then when they joined us, we had them take the new course that Anthropic just launched, like, the Anthropic course. And they said that the Pro AI school was actually much better for them, specific to what they're doing at Kassab. Because the Anthropic courses are very generalistic.
Sure.
And sure, like you guys cover those foundations as well. But I mean, your courses are really broken down into the category, like the different categories that you employ for.
So one of the things that makes us...
Are you going head to head with Anthropic?
If only you knew some of the backstories there, but not for this. But
what's your take on licensing defense technology to the US government?
What made us very special is like we genuinely were solving for that North Star metric of retention of great people. And what that meant was a great amount of sourcing of great people, vetting them. But really our sauce is how we work in tandem with our clients to pressure test the talent in their first month. I got lucky. If any of you ever saw the show Billions, I hired a Wendy Rhodes in my last company. And her responsibility was to unblock people and make them move faster. What I quickly realized was that she made it very easy to know who were the people that learned quickly and were grabbing things and running with them, and who were just not getting it or not interested in getting it. And so she made it super easy for me to fire people quickly. And like when I was 25 building this first company, when I was hiring 10, 20 people a quarter, like I didn't know when to fire people. So it took me 3 months and I would spend so much time and resources on the wrong people. And so that was the biggest thing. So when we spun up Pearl was this internal system that we then spun out after our friends started using and wanting us. We built this whole class of 1D roads that are called talent success managers. And their sole responsibility is making sure that talents are successful. And so they work in tandem with an account manager, which you work with a few. Like they are so in the loop of what each one of your departments needs that we become a great partner in helping remove the talent that isn't the A player of your company and keep the good ones learning and aggressively moving. So the learning and development portion of Pearl is like the most ginormous part.
What are your KPIs internally? Your retention rate 1 year ago in 2024 was X. Your retention rate in 2025 was X. You're trending X in 2026. How has that evolved since you started leveraging the AI upskilling and really investing in your systems?
The North Star metric has always been how many lives we've changed.
Sure.
So the retention of incredible people. That's the number one thing. When you go backwards and like just think first principle, like what matters, it is the retention of the client, the retention of the people.
What do you think the retention rate is in the staffing industry?
Oh, it's like in overseas, it's somewhere like 50 to 60%.
Wow.
Yeah. Ours, 95.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah. It's just after that pressure test. I think it's just like we are maniacal.
You're 100% at cosign. 100.
And our client retention rate's above 95% because our clients trust us to help them make those decisions. And obviously, once we place someone incredible, they're thinking about first of all, their brain expands because now their budget's double, right? Like they have double the amount of money to spend because it's half the cost. But they start thinking about roles that they never would have thought about hiring locally because it didn't make financial sense. So what I see, and that one metric that I love to look at when I think about like how much better we're getting, is how many more clients are hiring faster on their second to 10th to third, we have some clients with 40, 50, 60 people, like how fast they're hiring. Because like at the end of the day, like their company, my client's company is growing, means that my people are getting great opportunities to continue their career growth. And we champion their success and like their career growth within. The way our model works, like we don't just take a fee. It's the base salary plus what it costs us to manage them.
How big is the Pro platform? How many companies do you support? How many people have you placed?
Yeah, we support a few hundred companies, and we're closing in, God willing, by the end of the summer on our 1,000th hire.
VH.
It's special.
How big is the internal ops team?
We internally at Pro, we have 60 people.
Nice.
Yeah.
And those 60 people, how many of those are in the US versus international?
0 of our people outside of Monty and I are in the US right now. Yeah, we're gonna start bringing on some really incredible relationship people in the US because there's only so much that Monty and I can, like after this, I have this dinner, then we have a thing, like we can only do so much running around. And like now my brain is working on other things that like I just need to focus more on. So we'll start in the US soon for our internal team, and little tidbit on what's gonna happen.
How have you been so successful managing a distributed team, different time zones across the world?
Dude, when someone's intrinsically motivated, it does not matter to them. They are so driven by the outcome they want for themselves that it doesn't matter where they sit. I mean, almost half of our talent is in Asia, and they work complete night shifts. Everyone works US hours. It's just like never been a problem for the talent that we source.
Have you found a cadence that works for just like keeping everybody accountable? Weekly meetings, KPIs. I mean, it's something that we've discussing over the past few years is you overhauled your KPIs a few times. I've done the same. I think you're in a really good rhythm now, and I think you showed your updated KPI system to me. This is what 6 months ago, and we've kind of mimicked ours, similar to yours. Like, what have you learned over the past 5 years building Pearl, and what's the secret sauce to managing remotely and distributed?
I'm lucky that Pearl's my third company. You know that we bootstrapped this all the way through, and so like being focused on numbers is even more important when you're not, when you don't have an $11 million treasure chest in your back ready to go. So we originally started with the entrepreneurial operating system, so level 10 scorecards, rocks, which are like quarterly goals. Now Monty and I in our company, we work on a 5-year, 3-year, 1-year horizon, and then of course going into quarters. Once a quarter, Monty and I go upstate and we just like dive deep into the numbers. And like, it's just the data practice at Pearl is so extreme that we just like understand everything really clearly and there's no ambiguity, which is the most important thing as a founder. It's like, we all, as founders, we all are different, a different breed. Like we just are, and we're ready to eat glass every day. And we bring new ideas to the table often. And sometimes our teams run with them. Sometimes they think we're crazy, but if you don't have data to go on, you're just shooting in the dark. You're shooting from the hip. And like, that's dangerous because like, forget the money you're going to spend on those initiatives. That's time wasted. And so we don't do anything without setting up a very clear hypothesis and a testing timeline to make sure that our theses are right. And I'm always expecting that 90% of our net new initiatives fail. That's what it was for the first year. The second year, maybe it got to 80. And now like 4 out of 10 things hit. But man, when 4 out of 10 things hit, like
at
you're
such a larger
rolling.
scale, yeah, of course.
And that's why we're able to like, every month the business compounds and like we're placing X amount of more people. And so like the amount of revenue our business brings in is literally compounding month over month. And so I'm just maniacal about data. We have a very clear and specific way that we manage our talents across the hundreds of companies that we work with. And it's built to support you having your specific KPIs and data. But we have a pretty like secret sauce way of how do you measure how well a talent reflects that they're doing. So I can send that out to anyone that listens here and follows and just like shoots me a message on LinkedIn or on Instagram. But
what advice would you have for companies that haven't yet hired remotely and are looking to do so?
Yeah. I mean, obviously just like come to us if you like aren't penny pinching. If you're penny pinching, like go through the hard, hopefully you get lucky. And then call me when like you get tired of doing it yourself. Like I think that what's true about all of our clients is that they're very clear about the value of their time. And even if a lot of our clients are now like Series C, D, E, even into like thousands of people organizations that we just like get introduced through clients or friends. And we are an augment to like those larger recruiting teams. And honestly, like I've been 7 years focused on how my recruiters recruit. Like how much time have these founders spent with their people or their recruiters? And I can just say with a lot of confidence that my recruiters are the best in the game. And it's because I built them. I built them myself. And so I'd recommend coming to us because if not, you're going to spend a lot of time and money doing it yourself. And then you're not necessarily going to know the signals of when to call it, realize that someone's not the A player for your org. So I'd say come to us. But otherwise, everything I've said on this podcast is literally the playbook for how you build it yourself.
I think there's a common misconception in overseas hiring, and would love for you to touch on this. I think there's 2 types of overseas hiring. There's hiring on contract where you pay a fee up front, and then there's managed services. And as somebody that has done both, originally I was against managed because I just thought like contract is easier, it's cleaner. But over time, like I've fully transitioned what we have, the 15, 16 people we have from you all managed. And the ability, the way these team members have been upskilled over time, like I think it's a no-brainer, but like kind of touch on that, because I would say that that's like what one of the things that kind of people go back and forth at.
Yeah. I mean, founders believe that they can do anything, and the reality is they can. It's a question of how much
You
they're
don't
going
think they can?
I think they can. I think they can. The question is like, how much time do you really want to dedicate to it? Like if Pearl existed when I built Stage Glass, I wouldn't have built it myself. Like I spent I was spending my time on so many other things like that I didn't have a perfect solution for. Obviously the math makes more sense when you think about the dollar value of like immediate cost to pay a one-time fee. But
And this is like an ROI of what, 1 month?
So headhunters will charge you a percentage of the annual contract. And when clients come to us and ask, hey, like, why do all of your clients pay you this recurring model? I mean, one, it's the retention. And the retention comes from us being involved in the learning and development and the pushing of these people into monsters. But when people think about the cost, I find it so interesting that they immediately think about like the dollar value up front or like the dollar value long-term for our managed services. But what they really need to be thinking about is how much will it cost if this person doesn't work out?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what like triggers a lot of the founders that like want to, especially when you're early stage in the first couple times through in your company, you think that everything is better built by you.
Yeah.
Because you know you'll be able to do it, but really the math, and you did so well with this in Cosign, bringing Phil on and building out your team. Like you just grabbed incredible people, brought them in and said, go cook, and I'm going to go do something. And that's why you had the growth that you had, right? And so I'd say that whatever solves for the long-term retention, listen, if you're a founder and you're hiring incredible people and you do it very fast and you have an incredible way to make sure that these people are consistently learning, and you built this yourself some way, shape, or form, like Godspeed. I mean, like, you don't need us, but like that's just not the case for almost every. No one I know has built the effectiveness of our learning and development program.
100%. I would also add that we hired an engineer based on our contract with the US based engineer. We have, I think it was like 2 or 3 months to let him go.
Yeah.
And it was like a 40 or 50K recruiting fee.
Yeah.
And we let him go after month 6. And he was not a fit, but like it's really tough to tell if someone's a fit in the first month or 2 or 3, specifically if you're an engineer, because it takes a while to get into the code base. For other roles, yes, you should be able to know within a month. But for engineers, it's a little bit harder, especially if they're slow. Because if they're slow, they could just be getting their feet wet with the code base. 3 months passed. We decided to terminate them. It was month 5 or 6. Tough. And we're like, hey, let's find someone else. Like, we just paid you a huge fee. Let's help us find someone else. They said, no, you would have to do the fee over again.
Yeah.
And frankly, like our retention for you guys have been 100%. But like, again, I think you said your retention is 95, and like not everyone's perfect. And God forbid, like you want to find someone else, or someone's on a fit, or someone has a life event where they ultimately have to do something else, included, upskilling included.
Yeah. I mean, where the difference is between...
You guys are a partner for the life of the business.
For the long,
forever.
Of course. Yeah, forever. I mean, God willing, forever. Like, I think that you experienced this with the software dev we brought on 3 months ago. And I want to clarify, like, Zach has 100% retention of our people that made it out of the pressure test, right? There's certain people that we pushed to learn quickly and they failed. And that is a good thing. You want to push people to fail quickly if they're not going to be an A+ player in your org. And so my team with the software devs you've hired, luckily they all like made it past the pressure test and did crushed it. But like with other roles that we've done, some of them haven't. And like what's true is that my team pushed these individuals to understand the standard that they're going to be held against. And they just were able to meet the standard and become these like 10Xers in your software org within a month and a half. Yeah. And so these headhunters and recruiters, like, listen, some of them are extremely plugged and they know great people, but they don't spend the time once someone is placed, even if they're incredible at knowing who an A player is and like they're on the money, they don't spend the time after that person's
The relationship ends.
The relationship once you bring on that person. And they want the best, right? And they obviously want that person to stay retained, because if you go to them in the first 3 months, they're gonna have to do a whole new search, and that's super expensive. Yeah. That's what all my competitors get wrong. Like they undercut, but they pay poor salaries, so people leave and they don't attract the best people. And it's these private equity guys who see these like potential margins because they're going to go hire the shit people abroad. And part of my, like, it's really not shit people abroad, but people that are unfit for the role. Yeah. And they think that the cost of replacing that person is not insanely negatively impactful in their business. And I see it time and time again when I hear stories of like people in our industry that like they just built it incorrectly.
Yeah. I don't think I would ever go back to contracts, specifically overseas where.
Yeah, it's just like you have to, as a founder, think about what is the highest likelihood that something's going to be successful.
We talk about this all the time, like for everyone, both on our team and every partner we create, both for co-signer and for you guys, it's about aligning incentives. Like I've kind of changed my way of building the company. For every decision we make, how do we align incentives for everybody involved? It's not a good deal if one person wins, one person loses. And again, like partnering with Pearl, what are the incentives to be the long-term partner? You want people to add more people to Pearl. Why would I add more people to Pearl? Is because you guys deliver great talent and you upskill that talent. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, and other things are like, these are really the top of the game people. Like they are going to be pinged on LinkedIn with offers to leave. Like having that team focused on that talent success and that retention is what we do to make sure that people are not going to walk away without you knowing. So like we share that information with you because like we need to tell you like, hey, if this person's getting an incredible offer, like you need to know what that offer is.
I forget the name of the school, but you've placed, I think, 3 or 4 people with us from the Harvard of Philippines. What's the name of the school again?
UP, yeah.
Yeah, it just feels great. Like Harvard of Philippines on our team.
Yeah. I mean, people abroad are brilliant. And like what's happening with AI education is just letting people leap forward ahead of so many other people that have maybe had tenure in these great companies. But now this person who spent the last year watching thousands of hours of YouTube on how to be the best at the one specific thing they're learning, like that person has their hat in the ring now.
Walk me through your relationship with Montgomery, your co-founder. I mean, you guys like over communicate's not the right word, but like you guys have unbelievable communication. You're always lockstep. Like how'd you get to that point where you're always like that? And what tips do you have for business partners that are looking to kind of up their relationship with their founder?
Yeah. I'm so lucky. Like
Montgomery's a legend.
Yeah, I mean, Monty's like, he's just something else. The first time I met him, my best friend texted me and said, hey, like my little brother's best friend from college is going to build in the real estate tech space. You guys should get lunch. Dude, like I had a place to go to in 90 minutes. Never in my life have I felt the way I felt for a man. Like I was just sitting there, like I was speaking to Monty and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's the smartest guy I've ever met. And like, we just hit it off. Like the bromance was so awesome. And what was really cool is like, we didn't start working together. We didn't become business partners for 4 years, but we didn't start collaborating on things or like outside of like talking and like when we met, like we were just like talking and like, oh, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about this. And we were building the same mindset. And we just like, we're so different in so many ways, but like the trust and the relationship that we have is so close. And like, listen, we're not spending every single evening together. We have different friend groups. Our interests are extremely different outside of business, but the way that we trust each other, own the parts of our businesses that the other one doesn't even touch is like so extreme. And the accountability we hold ourselves to, the honesty, it's not over communication, it's honesty, right? I think like clear indicators you have a great partner. They do things that you hate to do and cannot do well. And they do those things incredibly well. 2, you have this level of trust, right? Like my biggest advice is hopefully you're not extremely rushed to find a co-founder if you're in the market for a co-founder, but like you got to date someone the same way you would a life partner. And like, we went on a trip to like, I mean, we had already met. So like, we know each other so well, but like one of the recommendations I always tell friends that like are starting to date co-founders is like, go on a trip and just like, don't plan anything. Just kind of like let it ride and see how you guys mesh. Like, would you see yourself ride or dying with this person? Like, does everything flow super well, right? And that's what we have. We're also, extremely lucky, like being bootstrapped, like there's no other stakeholders outside of us. And that just makes it even more important. But I speak to, we have so many founders that are awesome. And like, my thesis is like, we host a lot of things together. We host Shabbats, we host happy hours, we throw parties together for our friends. And like, we were both just like very big uniter of humans. And so as you create value for people, that value comes back around. And that's just like such a core principle of like how both of us think, Monty and I, and of course you, like that it just leads us to all this trust. So these founders come to us and they trust us with telling us like, hey man, like I haven't spoken to my co-founder in 2 months. And you'd be like surprised to hear the names of some of these founders that are like coming to me with things like this. And like, they're killing it. And I'm like, dude, go. And some of our, once I got 2 co-founders, this like unbelievable suite with 2 bedrooms. Some of them we do a ton of business with, like in this unbelievable hotel an hour away from where they live. And I'm like, whatever you do, force X to go with you on this weekend and just go hang, man. And I got a call a couple of days later, and like it was just so much appreciation for the fact that I care so much about the people I work with, the company's success, that we're not just hiring people. We're genuinely working on how do we help people solve their biggest issues. You know, Monty and I have 200 investors that we've spent the last 10 years becoming friends with. And like now, because of some of the efforts that we have with meeting new founders, like my team makes at the very least 100 introductions for founders simply to investors. Forget everything else that we do. And I don't do that because I do that out of my, like the pure, like, let's go, like, let's build. We all go up together. And of course that comes back around.
Yeah. One of my biggest pet peeves is people that hate opt-in introductions. Like me and you, we love introducing people just because they're top of mind. We love adding value. And there's people out there that are like, don't make an introduction to me unless it's a double opt-in. Like, come on, man. It's
a toughie. I don't expect people to be like me. And so I always go double opt-in, honestly, unless it's someone that I know. But my closest people know that if I'm making an introduction for them, like if it's straight away introduction, they're excited to figure out who's on the other line for whatever reason. It could be for anything, right? Like, you just made an incredible introduction for me. It had nothing to do with business. That was big. You know, you didn't ask me, you just made the introduction.
Yeah. Isaac, this was awesome. Thank you for joining us. This was a great conversation.
I feel like we could do so much more. You're the man, dude.